It looks like, yeah, it looks like everybody's here. Call the work session to order. From 6:30 p.m. to approximately 8:30 p.m. we were in executive session on personnel and litigation. With that, I'd like to add the minutes of the previous meeting, treasurer's report, payment of general and federal fund bills, payment of the capital reserve fund bills, and payment of the cafeteria fund bills. If no one has any questions or objections, I would like to place those on the agenda for the Wednesday. Hearing none, we'll move on to public comment for agenda items. We have none this evening. And just a reminder, when it comes to public comment, please keep your comments limited to 3 minutes. Moving on to athletics and recreation. Mr. Saxon isn't here tonight. Mr. Mongeau, will you take that, please?
Yes, thank you. Item number 8A, request the approval to award bids for winter sports supplies and equipment to the lowest responsible bidder meeting specifications. And with no objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Item 8B, request the approval of the following supplemental contract for the 21-22 school year, contingent upon receipt of the signed contract no later than 1 month after issuance, including the posting of the position if the contingency is not met. And that position will be middle school assistant football. And I'd like that placed on the agenda without any objection.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Item 8C, request the approval of the following supplemental contract for the 21-22 school year, contingent upon receipt of the signed contract no later than 1 month after issuance, including the position, the posting of the position if the contingency is not met, and the position is varsity boys assistant basketball. And I would like that placed on the agenda.
And we'll place that on the agenda.
Mr. Lake, do you have anything to add?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Evans? That's all we have, sir.
Thank you. Moving to buildings and grounds, Mr. Mongeau.
Thank you. Item 9. These are facilities utilization requests in accordance with policy.
Mr. Mongeau, not to interrupt you, but you can spread those on the agenda if you care to.
Yes,
if you've got a desire to read them.
Yes. There's 19 of those.
Yeah, question.
Yes, question, Mr. Lake.
I know we had some concerns about number 17. Since that is on a holiday, and anybody we have worked with, we have to pay them the overtime. Can we check that out, find out, some way, to help out or something to be done, and see how much it's going to cost us. I know they can get a work up on it, it's good. Maybe we could work something out with the group.
Are you suggesting that we maybe, when is this being put on October board meeting?
Yeah, I have no problem. That's enough time for them. If they need to set this up, they're going to need to know. That's the only thing probably wrong with that. Since it's on the 11th.
Mr. President, we can attempt to get some answers between now and Wednesday.
Okay.
I know Mrs. Williams and I can reach out and see what we can do along with Mr. Grinnell.
So we'll leave it on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lee.
If there's no other questions, we'll place those 19 items on the agenda for Wednesday.
Item 9B, request the approval to donate surplus equipment and supplies not sold at auction to the Connersville Community Ministries or any other charity. And with no objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Item 9C, request approval of the following addition to this custodial substitute list for the 2021-22 school year, and that'll be read no objection.
We'll place that on the agenda also.
That's all we have for buildings and grounds.
Moving to Carnegie Free Library, please.
Thank you. I have nothing, Mr. Lake. And Mr. Manzella.
I have nothing, thank you.
We have nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Collinsville Area Career and Technical Center.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Request approval of the Occupational Advisory Committee list for the 2021-22 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Request approval for Eric DeChana, guidance counselor, to attend the Pennsylvania Association of Career and Technical Administrators, PACTA, fall workshop for counselors, Penn Stater Hotel and Conference Center, State College, PA, October the 21st and October the 22nd, 2022, at an approximate cost of $530 for registration, lodging, meals, and travel, with all costs to be paid from the Perkins Grant. This will be paid under the Purchase, Professional, and Technical Services Staff Support Services line item, with a remaining balance of $1,470. And no questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Mr. Martucci, you have anything?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Montiel?
Nothing.
Mr. James here? That's all we have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Curriculum, please.
Thank you. Request approval for the following professional employee travel. Michelle Zodick, Melissa Farwell, teachers to attend the PBIS Team Initiative Problem Solving Training, Intermediate Unit 1, Call Center, PA, on November 15th, 2021. A cost of $179.51 for a substitute, for the total cost to the district of $359.02 to be paid for from the Title I funds. Without any questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Amy Witt, Sarah Hope, staff to attend the training Jocelyn Yearbook, Comfort Inn, Wilkins Township, September 23rd, 2021, at a cost of $179.51. One substitute to be paid for the Title II funds. Without questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Place that on the agenda.
Request approval to purchase 1-year subscription for U.S. History online textbook and teacher's edition for the Collinsville area middle school at a cost of $8,004 to be paid for by the Continuance of Education A-TSI grant. And without questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Place that on the agenda.
There was a committee meeting held on September 14th at 6 p.m. Mr. Martrey, anything further? Dr. Kuhn? That's all we have under curriculum.
Thank you. Moving to cyber.
I have nothing. Mr. Clark?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Nolan?
Nothing.
Mr. Woods?
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing, thank you.
Moving to federal programs.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Request approval of the 2021-22 Title I non-designated school-wide plans for Holston Township Elementary, Dunbar Township Elementary, Springfield, Clifford and Pritz Elementary, and Westcroft Elementary, in accordance with federal Title I program guidelines. With no questions or objections, I'd like to place on Wednesday's agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Request approval to purchase 14 HP desktop workstations at a cost of $16,254 to be paid out of Title IV funds. With no questions or objections, I'd like to place on Wednesday's agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Request approval to purchase 18 Surface Pro 7 Plus laptop computers and covers at a cost of $19,980 to be paid for out of Title IV funds. With no questions or objections, I'd like to place on Wednesday's agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Request approval to purchase Boxlight Pro Color interactive displays for a cost not to exceed $70,000 to be paid for by Continuity of Education AATSI grant. With no question or objection, I'd like to place on Wednesday's agenda.
Question,
Yes, question?
is that similar to the box lights that we purchased?
Yeah, they're an upgrade and they're a work of law.
Pardon me?
They're an upgrade version.
We still use our box light?
Yeah.
We don't have some of them put away that people don't need. And this is a total grant.
How many,
Yes.
how many were there? 23.
And the actual cost, those are, there's what an actual cost is, $69,000.
Any other questions?
Is there any reason why we have to go with the Pro Color Interactive? I don't believe the other ones were that expensive, were they?
They were actually more expensive. They've come down in price.
What was more expensive? Pro Color?
Yeah, previous model. We purchased Pro Color 2s 4 years ago, and we're actually getting a better product now for about, I'd say about $200 less per unit than what we paid 4 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Ghost.
Any other questions? We'll place that on the agenda.
There was a committee meeting held September 14th at 6:30 p.m. And that's all I have. Mr. Martre, you have anything to add? Dr. Coombs? That's all, Mr. Maddox. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance. Oh, okay.
Under Finance, item number 15A. Request the approval to transfer $5,000 from free senior high school technology education budget at a total of $15,000 to the technology education equipment budget to purchase a CNC router at a cost of $25,000. And without objection, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
I have a question.
Question?
So, it's only $15,000. We're taking $5,000 out of each account, to pay for something that's actually out of their account. So, I don't quite understand what we're doing.
They're transferring $5,000 supplies budget, taking it to the equipment account where we have $10,000 in there.
Where do the equipment account come from?
From the tech ed funds.
And who's going to use this?
Tech ed, the three tech ed teachers agree that that's something we did at that cost, but they really want us to use
So, I don't quite understand, maybe I'm not understanding. You're taking $15,000 out of their budget and putting it in sound school.
It's a budget transfer out of supplies and equipment, budget for all the design reasons. It's transferring $15,000 out of supplies and equipment back to the $25,000 budget in that equipment account.
What was the difference?
Difference is.
They don't have that much money in their accounts? They don't have that kind of money in their accounts for out of their line item? Right, last month we were just buying. Last month we talked about just buying, and now we're actually going to see where it's coming from,
I have a question.
right?
My question is, we're removing $5,000 from three separate accounts, three separate instructors, for materials to be used in those three instructors' individual classes. So their their supply budget must have been padded a little bit, so they can give up that kind of money, and that's fine. It's fine. What I'm concerned about is down the road this year, they run out of supplies for some reason, or they need additional supplies for the CNC router that wasn't on the budget. So I just want to bring that to the attention to the group that, please let them know that I personally do not support the fact that we're taking money out of one pot and putting it into another when we're taking materials out of our students' hands. They have to cut. I would like to see us find it another way. I voiced that earlier, and I just want to do that publicly now. Thank you.
They still have money left in their budget. But you're telling us it's coming out of their technology budget.
Technology department has a line for supplies and a line for, equipment. Just moving it from 50,000 out of supplies into the equipment.
So that's kind of what Mr. Ronaldo asked, what do they have left to spend for the year? Do they have a surplus left, do they have money left so they can make it through the year, is what we're asking?
Mr. Monjo, we'll wait to put that on the agenda. If you want to continue, then we'll come back to it.
Okay, I'm going to move on to 15B. Permission to permit the superintendent and business manager to enter into an agreement with the vendor selected by the IU1 Electric Consortium to provide electricity supply beginning December 2022 for a period of 36 to 48 months. And with no objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
I believe you forgot the whereases, but that's okay. We can read them for Wednesday night. I believe you went right down to number 1. Yeah. So that's okay, Mr. Monjo. If there's no objections, we will place that on the agenda.
Okay, and item number 15C refers to the same deal, only with the CTC. Permission to permit the superintendent and business manager to enter into an agreement with the vendor selected by the IU1 Electric Consortium to provide electricity supply beginning December of 2022 for a period of 36 to 48 months. Without any questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
And we'll place that on the agenda.
Item 15D, request the approval of the Cosbury School District to enter into the Western Pennsylvania Natural Gas Consortium with Direct Energy Business Marketing, LLC, beginning September 1st, 2022 through August 31st, 2025 at a basis price of 26 cents, and I don't know what DPH stands for,
Decatherm.
which is a savings of 18%. And I like that place on the
And we'll place that on the agenda. Decatherm is just another way to measure BTUs.
Item 15F, request the approval to accept the offer of $44,000. Oh. Item 15E, request the approval of the Collinsville Career and Technical Center to enter into the Western Pennsylvania Natural Gas Consortium with Direct Energy Marketing, Business Marketing, LLC, beginning September 1st, 2022 to August 31st, 2025, at the same basic price of 26 TPH, a savings of 8 and I would like that placed.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Item 15F, request the approval to accept the offer of $4,500 for district-used HVAC parts from combustion services and equipment. And without any objection, I'd like that placed on
We'll place that on the agenda.
Item 15G, request the approval of the attached district credit card orders and to authorize district business office to process the order. Without objection, I'd like that placed on
We'll place that on the agenda.
Item 15H, request the approval of the buildings and grounds purchases from August 21st, 2021 through September 17th, 2021, in the amount of $53,587.07. I would like that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Item 15I, request the approval of the attached requisitions and to authorize district business office to process the purchase order. And without objection, I'd like that put on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Item 15J, request the approval to accept a donation of $500 from Gallagher Insurance Agency and $1,000 from Bain Scattergood Incorporated through the Falcon Foundation to be used for the purchase of a handicap ramp at Dunbar Township Elementary School. Without objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
And we'll place that on the agenda.
Item 15K. Oh, Marlene, you're going to give an update today, or you going to give an update on Wednesday, or it's up to you? Okay.
Could you turn the mic on, please?
We had the auction for the excess items in the blue storage shed. We sold 249 items at a gross amount of $15,976.13. And we will be receiving the final accounting minus the expenses and commissions sometime this week from the auctioneer. Any questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Grinaldo, do you have anything to add?
Nothing further, thank you.
Mr. Pandel? That's all we have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Grinnell, are you ready to go back to Mr. Panzel's question on the 15A? Okay. We'll keep moving. We'll come back. I think we're over to food service, Mr. Martucci.
You can give us that Wednesday.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Request approval of the following additions to the cafeteria substitute list for the 2021-22 school year. No question or objection to make that place on Wednesday's agenda.
And we'll place that on the agenda.
That's all I have, Mr. Panzella.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Horstman.
Nothing, thank you.
No, this makes sense here. That's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Get 17B. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got two thoughts going in my head. If we're going to wait till Wednesday, then we will place item number 1 on the CNC router. We'll place that on the agenda for Wednesday. Thank you, Mr. Martucci. Moving to personnel review and liaison, Mr. Martrey.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Under sabbatical leave 17A, request approval for teacher to take a sabbatical leave of absence for the 2021-22 school year No questions or objections, I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
17B, long-term substitute, request approval to hire to be a long-term substitute teacher for the 2021-22 school year, effective August 26, 2021. No questions or objections, I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
17C, long-term substitute, request approval to hire to be a long-term substitute teacher for the 2021-22 school year, effective August 26, 2021. No questions or objections, I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Long-term substitute, request approval to hire to be a long-term substitute teacher for the first semester of the 2021-22 school year, effective August 26, 2021. No questions or objections, I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
17E, long-term substitute, request approval to hire to be a long-term substitute teacher for the 2021-22 school year, effective August 26, 2021. No questions or objections, I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
17F, long-term substitute secretary, request approval to hire as a long-term substitute secretary for special education, effective September 15th, 2021. No questions or objections, I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
17G, technology policy addendum, request approval of the addendum to the August 25th, 2021 board approval of technology employment policy. No questions or objections, I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
17H, grievance, request approval of the attached custodial maintenance step 3 grievance response regarding the 2021-22-1 grievance. And no questions or objections, I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
17I, nurse substitute rate. Request approval of the substitute rate for the 2021-2022 school year. Nurses at from $120 per day to $145 per day. No questions or objections. I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda. Question?
I do believe we had a date on that. Like to start?
August 26th.
August 26, 2021.
So we want to add a date to that?
Yes.
That's August 26th.
Seven- 17J, additions to professional substitute list. Request approval of the additions to the professional substitute list for the 2021-2022 school year. No questions or objections. I'd like to have those placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
17K, additions to support professional substitute list. Request approval for the following additions to the support professional substitute list for the 2021-2022 school year. No questions or objections. I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
And 17L, you got a correction, request approval to correct the minutes from August 25th, 2021 for the following motion. Board approval, August 25th, 21, request approval for Kathleen Sabal, a teacher, to take an unpaid leave of absence for the 2021-22 school year. The correction will be Kathleen Sabal, teacher, to take a sabbatical leave of absence for the first semester of the 2021-22 school year. No questions or objections. I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
That's all we have. Mr. Grinaldo, do you have anything to add?
I'd like to point out that under 17I, the reason that date was added is that I put it in line with when we adjusted day-to-day substitute and the long-term stuff. So if somebody was wondering why that date came out. August 26th, 22, those are the printing the nurses substitute in line, and also retroactive back that date. And the board can approve that.
Mr. Mongiel, do you have anything to add?
Nothing.
Mr. Solomon? Dr. Bradley?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have.
Thank you. Policy and legislative, Mr. Horstman.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. 18A, revised policy first reading. Request approval of the first readings of the following revised policies. 004, VOG oath of office certificate. 810-1, school bus drivers, school commercial motor vehicle drivers. 001, electronic signatures. 916, volunteer program. 218.1, weapons. 218.2, terroristic threats. 247, hazing. 249, bullying and cyberbullying. 805.2, school security personnel. 006, meetings. 006, BOG, publish, post, and notify. 903, public participation in board meetings. 810, transportation. 818, contracted services. 18B, additional policies, first reading. Request approval of the following, the first readings of the following additional policies. 137.1, extracurricular participation by home education students. 236.1, threat assessment. 18C, policy committee meeting was held September 13th at 10 a.m. That's all I have, Mr. Martucci.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bernardo.
Mr. Bernard, it would be possible for 903 to deal with public participation in board meetings. That policy to be attached to the agenda that we lay out, so that we know something will actually know. Change is probably a minor, but this way the public is aware of what our policies be on public participation in board meetings.
So the board secretary will take care of that then? Thank you. That's all we have, thank you.
Thank you, and we'll add 18A and 18B to the agenda. Moving to safety and security, please.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. We have nothing this evening. Mr. Martucci, anything additional?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bartlett? That's all we have.
Thank you. Special education, please.
Request approval of the agreement between Connellsville Area School District and Marquis, Pennsylvania, for providing a free and appropriate education of school-age children with autism and/or emotional disturbance, effective August 1st, 2021, through and including July 31st, 2022. And without objections or questions, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Mr. Lake, anything further?
Nothing, thank
Mr. Martucci? Mr. D'Amico? That's all we have, Mr. Burnett. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to student services, Mr. Montiel.
Thank you. Item 21A, request the approval of the healthcare staffing agreement between AMN Healthcare Incorporated and the Connellsville Area School District for the purpose of using healthcare clinicians for temporary professional services for the 2021-22 school year as proposed and without objection.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Item 21B, request the approval for Jonathan Yotzi, band teacher, chaperones, Dane Schultz, Jackie Eckenrod, Courtney Wiltrout, Josh Wiltrout, Leanne Triggs, Melissa Lloyd, Belinda Grove, David Schomer, Lori Kokenar, Tara Osler, John Osler, and approximately 63 students will be taking a field trip to Universal Studios in Florida, March 28th through April the 2nd of 2022 at no cost to the district. And without objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
We'll place that on the agenda.
Mr. Lake, do you have anything to
you.
add?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. D'Amico? That's all we have, sir.
Thank you. Technology?
I have nothing, Mr. Larson.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Marchetti? Nothing, thank you. Mr. Cook? Nothing, thank you. Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Transportation, Mr. Lake.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Request approval of the following additions to the bus van driver list for the 2021-2022 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
And we'll place that on the agenda.
Mr. Hartman, do you have anything to add?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Pansella?
Nothing, thanks.
Mr. Evans? Nothing, thank you. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. Under President's report, it's not on here this evening, but we'll be adding a motion on our health and safety plan. Some changes that came to us by the recent mandate by the Department of Health and the government. I believe the solicitor will draft that verbiage and get that to our board secretary. Now we move to public comment for non-agenda items. Julie Alcentrino, district plan and staff.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to take a few minutes of your time to address two things that right now I'm very, very passionate about. The first, though it is mostly social media driven, is starting to funnel into our classrooms and into the homes with information that's been released by the district that may or may not be misleading depending upon how you read it. A letter recently went out that stated that Schoology will be one way to meet the board policy obligations to those absent students. Not really sure how that can be when a lot of us haven't even been trained. That's going to kind of be tough to do, and I'm not sure if the board is aware of that, but during the service, many people couldn't even log on, so they didn't have that opportunity to create those pages. Training has been an issue, so some have been trained very little and some not at all. There were bullet points in that letter about accessing the Schoology page where they can find current instruction and assignments. Again, hard to do with no training and no time. Another point about transitioning from Google Classroom to Schoology. Just a reminder that Google Classroom became a method of delivery and planning during the pandemic and under the 2021 COVID MOU, which I was very thankful for. Does the traditional pickup may still be used, which is a great thing to say as a very last resort. I don't need any training to send a copy of papers to the office, but what about a first-year teacher or a teacher who has changed positions? They need some training. New curriculums come up, so everything isn't banked into a Google Classroom for everybody, and there's no time to do that. The reason I bring this up to you as a collective group is because there is false information floating around the community that the teachers are lazy, the teachers don't care, they only think of themselves, and they want more money to teach online. I take offense to all of those. And I could go on for some of the other reasons. Actually, none of these are true. We are not teaching online because the district failed to develop a plan for this year. This has nothing to do with teachers not wanting to teach online. As you know, Mr. McCoyle and I have asked over numerous meetings through the summer, what is our plan? And we were always told there is no plan B. We are 5 days a week. That was the end of that discussion. So the conversations that built that COVID MOU last year for the students as well as for us, as well as protection for the district, not even a discussion. So that's the reason we are not doing distance learning in conjunction with teaching our in-class learners. I would appreciate it at some point that the district could acknowledge that to the public that this is not a union issue, this is not a lazy teacher issue, it's not from us that are selfish or want more money, because as we all know, that's not something we can just decide we want to do. So we're more than willing to do what we did last year, but you'll have to give a little and offer up some time, some training, and a whole lot of understanding instead of just throwing us out there under the bus. But please, 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 don't send out another letter about the usage that we haven't even been trained on. I just want to know that that expectation you continue to provide for the public, it's indeed not what we are expected to do. I should preface my next topic I spoke at the last meeting about the need for special education help. I guess I really probably shouldn't have just put that in special education terms because it is a much bigger problem than just the special education department. Again, a couple of you had reached out for some information, some conversation, and I really appreciate that. But we need to get some people in the buildings, and we can't continue to blame the pandemic year after year. We still have kids that are failing that are in upper grades that didn't have the pandemic a few years ago to blame. We need to forget about the money for a minute. I know, rightfully, we can't do that. Sorry, Marlene. But we have to look at the kids who are coming in with no basic life skills. When we have kids coming into kindergarten that can't hold a spoon, and yet you expect them to sit in a cafeteria, or kids that are in second grade and can't identify letters, that's quite concerning. We have to reach those kids who have been at home with little or no support and very little learning. We need to look at the one grade who in particular has 55% below basic in their reading comprehension and reading skills. And I won't say the grade because I don't want to pinpoint them. As well as another grade that has 38% non-readers in a specific grade, and I shared that information with some of you. What do you think will happen to those kids? We have so many in the red zone. They will be pushed through, like we always do, and blame the pandemic. But let's face it, we are not known for holding students because it makes us as a district look bad. But in reality, the kid sitting in class and can't read when called on by a friend is the one who feels bad. That leads to frustration, anxiety, failures, bullying, increased dropout rates, and even worse as we're all over in today's society, suicides. We are not going to see a normal group of students for the next 13 years. We must get them now when there is still hope for them not to pass the standardized tests, but to be comfortable with themselves at their academic level when they are with their peers. I know the numbers don't look good. What I'm saying, it doesn't look good, but we have to think about what we're putting on paper and what's happening on a day-to-day basis. We want to keep our special ed numbers low, I understand that, but we have to look at the reality of the day in the life of a student, the day in the life of a teacher, and see what actually goes on during that day. Disregard the numbers, just spend a day.
Julie, can you please conclude?
Yes, absolutely. I beg you, the board, to meet with the principals and listen to their needs as they navigate through a Monday through Friday schedule. Meet with them just to talk, see what they need. So that's where you'll hear the real need and see it on the day-to-day schedule. And take this time to do this, not for me, but for the future of our struggling kiddos. Thanks for all you do and for your time and dedication. I know that the time that goes into the board is more than 2 days a month, and it doesn't go unnoticed or unappreciated, but please take the time to meet with those principals.
Thank you.
Can I read an email from a teacher who couldn't?
I'm sorry.
Can I read an email from a teacher that was sent today? It's not my speech. Okay. So this is an email that was sent to Dr. Bradley and Dr. Coons today from a teacher who said, since Friday, I have received 15 emails from students and parents requesting work due to absences. Almost all are from positive COVID cases and students who are quarantined. This week in class, we are working on how to do quotes, paraphrases, summaries, parenthetical citations, and the creation of works cited page and MLA format, which is so difficult. I know that's in college. This is a new concept for freshman students, and they need help to do this project. Yet many of the students are quarantined at home with no help to do this assignment. I have a number of concerns about how we are operating as a district. Teachers have no time to prepare work and lessons for students for quarantine. As stated above, 15 requests is numerous. And we're expected to get the work out to those students, but we're giving no time to prepare. The assignments that we're working on this week take a considerable amount of time. The second point is, how is this beneficial to our students? If the students don't master the concept we are covering this week, they will continue to fall behind as we build on the next time concept is taught. Again, why is the district not requiring our students to wear masks to school? This teacher in particular spent a lot of last year in the hospital from COVID. And she was not able to social distance in that classroom. We can't do it again this year, and she feels like she puts herself at risk every day to come to work because the school district is not requiring students to wear masks. She helps her students at their desks, and she doesn't want to take that away from them. So the question she asks is, what has changed from last year? COVID is still a thing. The hospitals are overrun with patients. Students are still being quarantined due to close contact, and students still need instruction when they are not in the classroom. But it seems this year, Pottsville Area School District continues to do business as usual. Thank you for allowing me to share that.
Thank you. That's all we have for public comment. Mrs. Grinnell, do you have anything else to add this evening? Mrs. Coons, anything? Nothing. Superintendent Bradley, any comments this evening?
Just to reiterate what President O'Maddock covered, that on Wednesday, due to information that the district received, further input and further clarifications from the Department of Education and Department of Health, the Collinsville School District will be discussing and potentially voting on a more fuller compliance of the September 7th Secretary of Health order requiring doctor's verification for any not masking, any students that wish not to mask will need doctor's verification. That will be discussed on Wednesday. And also I thank Miss Allison Trina for her comments. If you refer to that September 14th document, the friendly reminders to the community, everyone wearing masks and being vaccinated provides us our best opportunity to remain a 5-day-a-week face-to-face school district. So I think that was overwhelming from our community, parents, students, board, teachers, everyone to be back 5 days a week. And the best way to do that is to be vaccinated if you're eligible, obviously, and to be masked fully. And also we asked in that same exact document, we asked our students and parents to cooperate and participate in the process of makeup work. We realize it's a two-way street. We realize that the families have to have a role in that, and us as educators have to have a role. And we also ask that please have patience with our teachers during the learning process of the new great tool of Schoology. So I thank her for those comments. They were spot on, and they were very reflective of the exact words in the document. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Maddox, I just have one thing to add.
Yes.
On this topic, Ms. Alexandria was talking about, if we could possibly get Dr. Bradley, Dr. Coons, Mr. D'Amico to sit down with the principals and some of the teachers and see, and all the elementaries, and see if we can rectify this problem somehow and take some action. Maybe they could brainstorm this and bring back something to us, to the committee, the curriculum committee, and then possibly the personnel committee as soon as we can. That's all I have to add.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. O'Maddock, I have one thing.
Yes.
Is it possible for us to give microphones to the administrators that are down below?
I see one down there we've got 2 tables and only 1 microphone, so we need, if we have an extra one someplace, Mr. Hammond.
Like it works with that system, I'd have to bring a different system in.
Pass the mics back and forth, guys, please. When it's your turn to speak, please pass the mic back and forth.
Don't mind the COVID.
Yeah, it's helpful. It's hard to hear sometimes. If there's no other items for this evening, just some informational items after board policy. With that, we will adjourn the work session and see everybody on Wednesday. Thank you.